So good afternoon and welcome to today's event. I'm just going to wait a couple of more minutes. I'm going to wait for a few more people to turn up as well. We've got a really good attendee list as well. I'm going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Arti. I'm going to be your host and I'm going to help present this event today. But I'm going to just do a little bit of it, and it's mainly over to our guest here today, who is Angelene, right? I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes before everyone starts logging in. And I'm going to do a quick introduction. So I hope everybody is well. Just to let everybody know who's already into this event, we have muted everybody, so there is no chat function. If you have a question, if you want to ask anything, then there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So if you can't attend the entire session and you have to leave a little bit early, but you've got a question that you like to ask, use the Q&A button at the bottom and we will answer that for you as well. My colleague Sam is trying to log in as well, so give him a couple of minutes. And I'm just going to wait another minute or two for a few more people to pop up. We are also streaming on Facebook as well. So if you see me looking at different screens, it's not because I'm getting distracted. It's because we are streaming on social media as well. I hope everyone can hear me. If you can't, please raise your hand, but I'm sure you should be able to see and hear us as well. So Angelene, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad. Thank you for inviting me to speak today.
No, thank you very much. It's a great honor. I know it's a difficult time for everybody now as well. We're in the second lockdown and just coming out the second lockdown, and we've got attendees here. They're from all over the UK. So I'm not sure what tier people are going to be going into, but I think it's nice to give value and feedback, especially to our audience members and our data as well. We've always got questions about architecture and planning, so we thought it's nice to give value back. We don't have you for too long. We've 60 minutes, so hopefully we'll be able to do a lot in that time. But really appreciate your time, your effort. You put a wonderful presentation together as well. And to our attendees that are here, I think we are ready to start.
Okay.
Let me just have
I'll share my screen with you.
Brilliant.
Can you see?
Yes, I can see. So guys, Angeline's ready for her presentation. She's actually going to be presenting on about commercial and HMOs and how to convert your property into a HMO as well. So I'm going to hand over to you. We are going to start now. We're going to hopefully wrap up in sort of 40 minutes or so, and then we'll have a nice Q&A session as well. So you are all invited to the Q&A session, which is just after the presentation. Like I said, if you've got a question and you need to leave beforehand, use the tab at the bottom, and the Q&A session will be live as well. So you're invited to the panel. You're more than welcome to share your voice and your face as well. So I'm going to mute myself, and hopefully you can all hear us, but I will be here as well. So Angelene, all over to you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Thank you for listening to me and tuning in. Thank you, Midas, for inviting me. My name's Angelene, and I'm an architectural consultant and strategist. Lots of big words. I run a studio based in King's Cross, and we do a large majority of our architectural services, but we've tailored a few to kind of help investors and developers make better choices when it comes to property maximization, adding value. So that's what I'm going to discuss with you today. A few things what we do that could help you is we offer desktop feasibilities. Really important to know what's feasible when you're acquiring or converting a property. We also offer the exploration of potential sites. So we kind of look, what can you do on this site? What can you not do? What are your limitations? We often work with developers and investors that have existing stock to optimize layouts, and that's really, really important because that's the way that you maximize your property. We also work with homeowners as well. We still do your regular extensions, loft conversions, and we also do bespoke consultancy. That might be interior design. It might be something a bit more bespoke to your site. We also offer that. So we're a I've lost the words now. We're a one-stop shop for everybody. So today I'll be talking to you about converting or acquiring HMOs and how to best use them. I've used an image here, which is a common site of a HMO. This is a HMO that said that it was an ensuite with a kitchenette, and it's not the best. So this HMO was a previous client actually, and he wasn't getting the best rates. We can kind of clearly see why, and we want to what we want to do is avoid issues like having voids and things like that, and having somewhere where tenants want to stay. So our advice really is about maximizing and optimizing your internal layout. How can we get the best layout that works not just for you, but also for the tenants that are going to be in the property. When you have a HMO, it's a bit like a brand in the area. You need to make it desirable. Whatever we're creating, people have to want to stay there. You can't afford to not have people stay there and not, you want it busy. We want to reduce the void periods. We don't want an empty house. We don't make money on empty houses. We also want the tenants to renew their tenancies and stay with you as long as possible. And to do that, it's got to be desirable, right? And you also want to demonstrate that you care about your tenants' well-being. We don't want to create spaces where people feel enclosed. It's not quite appropriate. It's cold. It doesn't offer them what they need, and it impacts on mental health. Well-being is really, really important now, especially during COVID. It's something that we need to take and we need to think about when we are creating these spaces. The most important thing is we want to kind of maximize on our done up value. We want to make sure that we get our return. And the best way that I find working with clients is to kind of look at the overall layout of a house and plan the best layout. So one of the takeaways that I have here is an example of a 2-bedroom house that was acquired by a client a few years ago, and we converted this into a 5-bedroom HMO, and we did this. I mean, as you can see, if we look at the ground floor plan, it is your typical terraced property, nothing too special. Services are at the rear of the property, and you have your living room, you have what would be a dining room area, and 2 quite standard sized rooms upstairs. We also had an unconverted loft conversion. So what we did with this client is to maximize the brief, which was to achieve 5 bedrooms, 5 decent sized bedrooms with a communal area and kitchen. We added a lean-to extension just at the rear. We pushed it out. We also did a loft conversion and added as many bathrooms as possible. So all the rooms became en suites. They become really desirable. We also added a utility room. That way it wasn't taking up space in the kitchen. And the kitchen, living, dining room area became what we call an LKD. It's all open plan, so they had an area to sit, and everyone, we had communal zones, in fact, where people can meet and congregate if they want to. They still had really decent size bedrooms. When I design a space, I mean, it really does depend on the kind of spaces that you have available, but the size of room, I try to keep it above 8 or 9 square meters of space for a nice good double with a desk, with wardrobe space and room to maneuver around the bed. 8 square meters is probably the smallest I would go, and then it's up from there. Obviously the larger the room, the more increased rent. I always try to get an ensuite in there back to back if I can, stacked if I can. Again, it's really hard to do if you're doing it retrospectively, but it is possible, again, with planning, with kind of planning it, the layout, the internal layout and all the plumbing and everything that goes along with it. And we managed to achieve that in this property, and it's something that I push quite a lot. to kind of maximize. And this went really well. This HMO is still ticking over now. It's based up in Manchester, and it's only, I think the client said it only 2 weeks void since he first did it, which is really amazing, really. And it's going really, really well. The overall cost for this renovation completely was towards about 100,000 in the end. We kind of expect some of the fixtures and fittings, so I think we could have brought it down a little bit, but we kind of went towards the higher end in the end. So that's just an example of how to optimize your layout to best suit the brief. So my top takeaways when converting any property into a HMO: create ensuites. People love to own things. They like a sense of ownership, especially with coronavirus and people being worried about sharing. I think if you have the space to create ensuites, that is something that we should factor in. Whether you can do it in every room is a plus, but if we can't, having a room that offers that ensuite just pushes the money up a little bit. You can charge a little bit more for it, and it's a good addition. Everyone likes a good ensuite. Another top takeaway I would say when converting into an HMO is a well-designed communal area. This is an area that I think a lot of people don't put enough attention on. Tenants do, they like the space. They like to be able to live in the space. Some people don't, and they would retreat to their room. But I think it's really important that you offer a very good communal space where you can, if you want, eat at a table, have a well-functional kitchen that services everybody, and it looks good. It's a place where people can bring friends and hang out a little bit, and it just creates a nice living environment for the tenants that are there. I've noticed in the past that we have had people that haven't maybe particularly spent attention or created those communal areas, and it can create a little bit of an intense living situation where you can't escape your bedroom kind of thing. And we want to know that tenants' well-being is kind of being attended to. So I think that's something that if you are creating spaces, do pay a particular attention to those areas. And again, there is no hard and fast way of where this communal area can, it is. Predominantly they are at the rear, but as you can see with the, there are examples where it might be in the front, but factor it in definitely. About 35 square meters of communal space is kind of the going rate. What else have we got? So, when it comes to HMO conversion criteria, I would say location is the one. Not every building is in the right location or is the right kind of tenure to be an HMO. So check your location, check your transport links, check your hubs, whether it's transport hubs, educational hubs, whether it's being near universities, hospitals, because predominantly that is going to be your clientele, and you want a strong location where you can attract those tenants. So maybe not an HMO in the Outer Hebrides. I always advise clients, if you are looking at HMO, try to reach at least 5 rooms. Obviously that depends on the property and what you're going for, but I think 6 rooms and above is a good size, manageable HMO, and that could be, with the additional of commercial, depending on the kind of property that you have. Another thing that is worth considering, it has curve appeal. Nobody really wants to stay in an ugly house, and I think it gives you the edge as well. I think if you can offer something like a communal garden, if you've got Victorian features, don't just strip them all out. Have something that makes your particular property stand out. Again, it's about branding. What has your property got above somebody else's, because you're competing for the same the tenants, particularly in areas where they're hubs like students, or if it's, you know, around a hospital or things, you know, you want the best tenants. Make sure that you meet, obviously, your minimum standards. Thank you, Boris. It's really important that we give people enough space so that they can function. So wherever possible, and you know, we can bend the rules a little bit and create a smaller bathroom or a slightly smaller bedroom just because of the architecture. That is possible, but where we can, I always try to meet or exceed those space minimum, the standards anyway. And always optimize your internal layouts. You know, these properties were predominantly created for families, and was made in a certain way. We don't necessarily live that way anymore. So don't be afraid to move partitions. Obviously get advice about structural walls. We don't want anything falling down. But you know, get that tracing paper out and really try to figure out how tenants would live in that space. So that would be my my kind of a criteria list. If I talk about adding value, if you're not doing a HMO and you just want to spruce up your house, I mean, recently with the impact of COVID, I've done a crazy amount of annexes and outbuildings. I've put that in the list because that is definitely some way, if you have a residential property, of adding value. If you've got spare square footage that's being underutilized, particularly in garages, make use of PD rights to create habitable rooms from that. Obviously, you've got to check with your local council whether it is permitted or not. Obviously, in listed buildings, you might have to go for consent from listed consent, or if it's in a conservation area, you might have that PD right removed. There are some areas where listed consent and you retain your PD rights, so it's always best to check. Other methods of adding value to existing properties: convert the loft. That's probably the pricier one, but you can do small things like updating a bathroom, updating kitchens, sprucing up exteriors just by changing you know, windows and painting the render really does lift a building. So, you know, and that can really add value. Just adding curb appeal does add value. And like I said, converting outbuildings into usable spaces. Another one which I didn't add to the list was you can add glass rooms are really popular now. Conservatories are popular. I'm not a fan of conservatories, but I do recognize that they do add additional living space. Orangeries are another one that are also worth considering, and it's also worth considering, just off the point, when you have a HMO as well, adding conservatory, you can create kind of kitchen communal spaces by mixing and adding conservatories to create that additional communal space. Whilst you can't, conservatories aren't classed as a habitable room, but if you attach it to a habitable room, it just becomes an extension of that space. And by adding, you know, heaters and things like that in that space, you can then have you know, this kind of flexible space, although you might need building regs approval for that. That is something that you can do. So if we move on, permitted development, I've put a star next to this because there's many questions about permitted development. Use your PD rights if you have them, you know, extend 3 meters, use extended permitted development rights or prior approval to extend properties. You can do loft conversions, you can do side returns, you can do rear extensions, and convert outbuildings. So there's quite a lot that you can do within permitted development. You do have to check whether what you're planning to do may require prior approval. And what prior approval means is that you will need approval from the council, which takes 8 weeks, the same as planning, before you start work. So there are certain works that need prior approval, like extending your house 6 meters. before you start, and then there's work that you can just get on with as long as it meets certain criteria. So you can extend 3 meters to 2.5 or 3 meters high. As long as you fit in that criteria, you can get on with it and do it. If you want to go 6 meters, you would need private approval, and there is an 8-week wait on that. So that's one to bear in mind. There is extended rights to do 2 stories. I believe you need prior approval for that. It's under a lot of conditions. So I think there are a lot of conditions and restrictions connected to the 2 stories. I think if you are in that situation where you are wanting to explore doing 2 stories, it's best to talk to the council first, or talk to an architectural consultant or planner, just to understand the nature of your project, and whether you can do it, or whether what you're proposing has a restriction on it. It's, again, always check. Use the planning portal. It's a great resource to kind of understand what is allowed, what isn't allowed, and also there are some online calculators where you can calculate construction costs as well. I can pop that in the chat later if you need that as well. So I guess we've come to the end of my small presentation. Any questions, do email hellobeardedladies.com on the screen here, and we'll happily talk to you about and offer any advice about projects. We're a listening ear, so drop your emails in and we'll get back to you. But thank you.
Thank you. I like that presentation, but do you know what I really like the most? The fact that you spoke a lot about space and how important it is, not just in the property, but also in the room. Like, you really were like, it's so important, and it's something that we don't realize. And another thing that you mentioned, and I think it's a lot of people don't realize, is that I actually made note of it. It's the layout. It isn't just about the landlord, it's about the tenant as well. So you're actually considering, and I find this quite rare, when you're actually considering the HMO property for the tenant and how important it is for them, because you're right, you want them to come back again, you want them to renew again, you want them long lasting, and you want it to sell quite quickly as well. So would you say that's one of like your best assets that you're really good at, is sort of talking to the landlord and telling them, well, do you know what, yeah, you can possibly have a 6-bed HMO, but it's going to be a bit tight, so why don't we just go for a 5-bedroom HMO? And I mean, I know the bigger the better, and all of these kind of things, but if you say to someone, do you know what, if you're going to have 5 bedrooms, it's going to be more comfortable, it's probably more sellable, more rentable. Is that how it is with you guys? Is that what you really sort of push out?
Yeah. More is not always best. I think you can always, even if you can't achieve as many bedrooms as you want, if we spend money in certain areas where we up spec, use a nicer tile, a nicer carpet, offer more features, you can charge a little bit more for it, so you will reap the benefits in the long term, and people will be grateful for it. Definitely.
That is is fantastic advice. I think it's really, really good. And I just want to say thank you very much for sharing that, because that's something that a lot of people wouldn't consider, and I possibly wouldn't. You think, yes, a HMO definitely has to be 6, right? I mean, you got a license for 6, so let's get for the maximum. But sometimes you've got to consider other options as well. So I'm really glad that you highlighted that. And I just want to say thank you so much for your presentation. I think it was absolutely brilliant. Guys, the question and answer session is open now, and I can see there are a lot of questions coming through now as well. I am going to go through them as well. Angelene, you've also got the opportunity to sort of go through the questions as well. And so if you would like to come on to the panel, you can raise your hand and I would invite you, and you'll be live as well. So I'm going to go into the questions really quickly, but before I do, I want to know what the difference is between an architecture, someone like yourself, and a planner. So what is the main difference? Sorry, I have to sort of say that question, but what is the main difference? Really quickly.
That's okay. Architects and planners are brothers. Really, architects are about massing, so it's all about obviously gathering what the brief is from the client, but also finding out what is possible on the site in terms of how, you know, the square foot. So we take your plans and we kind of explore what options there are on that site. That might be, you know, whether it's commercial, all different types of things. We then take that idea and we go to a planner, because what a planner is a planner is a bit like a lawyer. They kind of go through policy and they judge what we've done based on policy. Is it compliant? Is it not compliant? Why is it not compliant? They don't do the design. You know, they judge the design. So it's very important that you have a design, or an idea of what you want to achieve on that site, or else they've got nothing to compare it against. So really, if you're going to engage with a planner, either have an idea or a brief of what you want to do, because they can't guess. They can kind of tell you what's their limitations, but, you know, come with an idea and you'll get a much clearer response from a planner. So that's the difference.
Brilliant.
We're first.
Because a lot of people do that. They go straight to the planner without a design, thinking, well, actually, you don't need a design because they're going to possibly amend it or reject it, but they need to have something, don't they, for them to sort of give any feedback on.
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, we've got a couple of raised hands. I'm going to go to them first. So I've got Joyce. I'm going to just promote you onto the panel. So you should be able to unmute yourself once I've added you to the panel. And then you feel free to ask a question. I was waiting for her to join back. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Robert as well, who's got the hands up. So, Robert, you're here. If you want to unmute yourself, feel free to ask a question. Just got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Are you able to hear me?
Hello, can hear you.
Hello. Yes, that's fine. Once again, thank you for your general explanation of things. I did the question you got from Artie, the difference between architect and a planner. I personally am an engineering consultant and a planning consultant, and in the planning consultancy, I cannot separate the architectural aspect of the work and the planning consultancy of the work. I often have the clients contacting me saying, look, here's our property, or, well, here's a property that we're thinking of purchasing. Can you tell us, in your opinion, what are all the options on the property? And that includes automatically a design, because, as you quite correctly said, if you don't have a design to start off with, then the planner cannot really do their job. Anyway, I have a general question about HMOs. Yeah. Now, and the example I'm about to give you that I'm working on at the moment, I think it's a good example because it starts off at the very fundamental sort of aspect of a property and HMO. First of all, you've got to get permission, planning permission, to use the property as a HMO. Mm-hmm. Now, sort of, as you said, many houses were built in the 1900s to the 1950s throughout as single-family dwellings. Yeah. Now, not always are you able to just convert it into a HMO. Irrespective of the design, you need a planning permission, or, and here's the thing, I'm doing a job at the moment. A chap, he bought the property in 1997 in London. Okay. He bought it. It had a flat on the top floor. It's got 3 floors. It had 5 or 6 bed sits on the ground floor, on the ground floor and the first floor. Yeah? Now, it didn't need a planning permission at that time, 1997. Yeah, and he's been using the property ever since. Now, he had an enforcement a query, not the notice, but a query about
Right.
10, 12 years ago. I stress, not an enforcement notice, but just a query. And then he decided to make an application, or him and his architect decided to make an application to convert the property into 3 flats because it was more profitable in that particular area than HMOs. They got that refused. They went to appeal. It was refused. And the basis of the refusal was, are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. And the basis of the appeal failing...
Robert, we have got a few more questions coming up,
hello.
so...
Hello. Hello, Robert.
Yes?
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, please, because your question sounds great, but it's very specific. I think what I'm going to suggest is that Angelene will actually book a time to talk to you after the Zoom, because it's a very specific question that you have.
I understand that. Yes.
So what we could do, if you have a general question, we can do it, because we don't have a lot of Angelene hasn't got so much time for us today.
Okay. So a general question, not the complete question, is how can you prove to the local authority that you are entitled to convert your property into a HMO? or if it has been an HMO, yeah, but it hasn't ever had approval as a HMO,
Right.
how can you prove to the local authority that you don't need a planning approval?
You need evidence by, tenancies generally. I mean, we've got a planner that's specific that can help you with that kind of issue, but generally you need to prove its use. So tenancies
over 4 years continuous use.
Yeah. You need to prove that it has been, as you said, used as a HMO. So you need all that evidence, gather it together with tenancies, so you can prove how it was working. But I think definitely do email in, and we can deal with it specifically. We do have a planning consultant that works particularly with that kind of issue. So feel free.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye then.
Thank you for that,
Thanks,
Robert. Thanks. We're going to go to the next one. I know we've got Joyce here, has been waiting for a while. So Joyce, I'm going to hand it over to you. If you just want to unmute yourself and go for it.
Hello.
Hi, Joyce.
Muted again, Joyce.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I really appreciate for inviting me to this forum. I've been following you for quite a while. I have 2 questions. The first one is your email at the end of the presentation. You took it out quickly. I would like to email you some.
Okay, we'll make sure you get that.
Yeah. And the second one is, do you work anywhere in UK, in London, in Birmingham, Manchester, anywhere?
Anywhere in the UK, anywhere.
Okay.
If you listen to my accent, I'm actually from Manchester, so anywhere in the UK.
Yeah, I missed a bit of that because I had problem earlier on. So sorry about that.
No worries.
Thank you very much. That's it.
We'll send the email out to you later on, Joyce. Thank you. All right, we're going to go through a couple of questions that we've got here as well. So one that we got earlier is for HMO conversions from 2 to 5 beds, which type of 2-bed houses would you recommend?
Mid terraces are really good. You're looking for spaces that have living rooms and dining room spaces with kitchens at the rear. Your typical 2 up, 2 down scenarios, bathrooms that are on the end of kitchens. Those kind of properties are really good. Properties that tend to be a bit more challenging are your 1950s properties where they had really small kitchens, They tend to be a little bit more challenging. Properties that are on closes are really hard as well. They're really hard to convert. Anything with a triangle garden, please just don't
Really?
even bother. Triangular plots are really challenging to kind of build out for HMO purposes, just because the boundaries are really close on two sides, obviously being a triangle. So try and avoid those ones as well. But your typical terrace is right for kind of this kind of thing. Good garden spaces as well make really good communal garden spaces.
Brilliant. All right, thank you very much for that. We've got another question that's come in. It is, if one has 6-bed HMO for 6 people and a loft can be built with 4 more bedrooms, what is the procedure assuming loft permission is granted? Thank you. That's from Kish.
So are you saying that this would be what, 10 bedroom?
Yeah, it seems like
10
it, because you've
bedroom
got 6
HMO?
beds already plus another 4 bedroom.
I don't know if, I don't think that would be possible, because you'd have to, I don't quite know if the property's big enough. You can have a 10 bedroom HMO, but you obviously need to make sure that you have enough communal areas for those for that amount of people in the building. So additional bathroom spaces. I don't know if you'd be able to, it must be a very big roof, if you can get 4 rooms upstairs, but you'd want those to be en suite. There's a few things to consider. So technically, yes, you would do you know, if you can get your loft conversion and it's done and you've got permission, and then get your license. But we need to prove that you can get all the accommodation that's needed for a 10 bedroom HMO, which might be a lot. It's not just a loft conversion. You probably have to get additional communal spaces and things. So if you email me, we can look at the plans and see if what additional work you'd need to do in addition to having that loft conversion.
Kish, I do have your contact details as well, so I'm more than happy to give you a call later on, because I think we might be doing some sort of clinic maybe in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks. So that'll be ideal for you as well if you've got a more detailed question about that as well, because it's a bit specific. I hope in some way that's answered your question. I've got another question. Oh, the presentation, we'll be emailing this over later on as well, and the video will be on our YouTube channel. So we've got a few questions about that coming through. I've got another question from Anonymous. For a 5-bed HMO, what will be the minimum internal, I think, gloss area required to convert a house into a HMO?
For a 5-bed HMO,
yeah, to the gross area.
I'd say about 800 square foot, really, because again, it comes down to how big your communal area is. Around 800 in total would be a nice, good size HMO space. Again, there are other factors. It's not just internal area, it's also location. It's also, you know, kind of the general plot, you know, garden space, neighbours, impact on neighbours and things. So there are a few other things. But yeah, I'd go on the basis of about 800 square feet.
Okay. One of the questions that we've had, sorry, just excuse me for a moment, on here is about the, let me just try and find it now. The room sizes is a question that's come up on here as well. Is there a minimum size for a room and a minimal size for a communal space as well?
Yes, there are. So 35 square foot or square meters, sorry, for communal spaces. That includes a kitchen, a dining room, and a table and chairs, you know, for for a communal space. Bedroom sizes, the smallest HMO size you can do for a single person is 6 square meters. But if you think about 6 square meters, that's really, really tiny. It's not going to be a space that is very desirable. So I try and avoid 6. Like I said in the presentation, you should really, I work with 8. So an 8 square meter room is a decent, that's a double. It's a small double, but it's doable, and that's far more desirable. If you're going to have an ensuite, then you're looking at 12 to 2.5 square meters for an ensuite and a double. That's a good, decent room size.
Brilliant. Thank you for
that.
that.
3x4 meters or something like that.
Thank you for that. I've got Ashu on the panel, so I'm just going to ask you if you could unmute yourself and go for it. You're live. You're more than welcome to go and ask a question. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for a great presentation. Yeah, my question really is, as an architect, do you also provide project management services and the power team, like builders and electricians and plumbing services?
I work with the team, but it's ever changing, as you know how builders are, but there are a few people we work with as partners to kind of have that team together. There's a few contractors that we work with. Yeah, if you need anybody, just email us, and we can get them to contact you. They're independent to us, but they would do work hand in hand with us a lot, and we know
and would you project manage them?
It really does depend. I don't tend to project manage projects on this scale, just because HMOs are a bit small for project management fees. If you think about project management fees, that they can range from 2% to 20, and it often pushes the budget up a bit too much. But if you need that, usually I kind of get my main contractor to be the project manager and project administrator on projects like this.
Yeah, it's just because I'm based in Geneva, Switzerland.
Oh wow. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Then I think in that case that you would delegate to the main contractor and give him an instruction to do that, and you figure out your terms and conditions and your schedule of works, which is really important, especially when you're away. But we can, again, send us an email. You'd want a job distance.
Yeah. Okay, great. And do you also do shop with the upper conversions?
Yes, we do. Yes. I was actually going to put a presentation together with that. It's definitely something for another conversation, but yes, I've just finished a project where we did a conversion of a shop, which was a restaurant, an Indian restaurant. We retained the front, so they had a commercial unit which we made smaller, and we made it into a 6-bedroom HMO with a commercial retained. At ground floor level, we had a shop and communal space for the HMO, and above in the uppers we had ensuite bedrooms, and we did a loft conversion as well, and that was also
brilliant. Okay, so I'll definitely reach out to you. Finally, what are the fees that you charge typically?
It really does range. I mean, it depends on the project. So it ranges. We have kind of fixed fees for feasibilities, and then obviously when we're talking about project by project, we have to kind of gauge. I mean, you could spend all day just doing a 2-bedroom house, or it really just depends. But just send me an email and we can work that out.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Okay, I'm going to Sam. Have we got any questions on social media? There he is.
Oh yes. Okay. Yes. It's quite. Hi, Angelene.
Hi.
Can you hear me and see me? Yes. It's very interesting when I'm listening to you and I'm trying to follow the social media, and then there's a big delay between the live and social media, so I'm always like a few minutes behind on the social media. Yeah, but we've got some questions for you here. Everyone is saying, great presentation on all the social media. So everyone loves the presentation. The first simple question is, can an architect put in a planning application, or must it be done by a planner?
No, architects can submit for you. They can also act as your agent, so they liaise with the planning officers throughout the whole process. So no, you don't have to have a planner to do it for you. You can also do it yourself if you need to. If you want to be the agent and liaise with the planning officer. Really, you only need a planning consultant if it's a particularly challenging project where you are pushing the boundaries, where you need extra advice and you need extra compliance and things.
Well, it's good you're working from home, so you can't really say you forgot your crystal ball. The next question actually requires your crystal ball if you have it next to you.
Okay.
Saying which London boroughs are easy to deal with?
There's no easy boroughs to deal with. Actually, I find London boroughs are easier than the Greater London ones. Working with Watford is a nightmare. But there's no easy borough. It's just about compliance. It's yeah. The stock's so different across London. I mean, personally, I've had a lot of experience working with Southwark. They're actually very, very flexible, Southwark. They're doing a lot of kind of interesting things. Obviously, Croydon is another one that kind of allow and push the boundaries a little bit. Harrow are challenging, but I've got a lot of experience with Harrow. Again, with Brent and Barnet, they're challenging, but you just got to know how, you know, what they are, you know, kind of what their focus is at the moment. So yes, it's what their trends are. None of them are easy. It's how you fight it. I think winning at planning, it's how you put something across. You've got to build it like a case. So if you are doing, you know, if you are planning something that's you know, a bit risky, why are you doing it? And you have to justify it. If you're doing, you know, a garage conversion, why are you doing it, and what's the impact, and argue that point that actually what you're going to do is not an impact. So it's just an argument.
Then say how do you find out which boroughs have Article 4 directions?
Oh, with great difficulty. You just have to go to the local area plans, and usually they state on there. I was thinking about putting together maybe for London all the Article 4 or possible Article 4 boroughs. So maybe I'll put that document together and share it with you guys, so that you know which ones are thinking about it as well, which I think is very important to know as well.
Yeah, I think just on the Article 4 topic, there's one chap that was on the last presentation that you did at night, who reached out to me saying I think they have a map of the Article 4 areas, but we are in discussion getting them on as sponsors, so we'll probably be getting that on, so there will be a ready location where you can go to find out. And just making comments about Article 4, some boroughs articulate it very differently. Say like Havering, the whole borough is Article 4, except detached houses. So if you're rich and you have a detached house, you're not Article 4. But if you are in a terrace, it's Article 4. Some boroughs like Barnet is everywhere is Article 4. Just the whole borough is Article 4, which for Barnet, I don't understand why they went Article 4. Because Barnet is the most expensive borough in London. I'm not sure why they did, but Article 4 is quite an interesting one for you to look at. Then just a comment on the shops and uppers. It would be great to have you back maybe next week or week after on shops and uppers, because we strongly believe that come 2021, with what we're going through, the lockdown, lockup, stop start, the high street will be different, and that we need to actually get as much help from yourself on how best to repurpose the high street. So I think just to for Ashu, for Shuma, that we'll definitely be looking at shops and uppers and the high street on our next presentation of Angelene. Definitely, that would be the best way to go. Ati, yeah, if you want to continue with the questions in the Q&A, so there are quite a few more that have come on one of the Facebook groups, so I can put those together and then come back. All right,
that would be amazing. Thank you for that, Sam. I think that's amazing. Right, going back to the question, if there is anybody else that would like to be on the panel, please raise your hand and we will invite you to the panel. We've got a lot of people saying thank you very much for the great presentation. We've got another question. Let's have a look quickly through. What are the new HMO changes made in 2018? Anything major for existing HMO licensed properties? Any major changes taking place there?
Just minimum standards.
Yeah.
Minimum standards. Yeah. Yeah. They want to pull up, you know, the standard HMOs, including existing stock. So it's just there's probably a few building regs in terms of Part L that's probably in kind of on the back of Grenfell and things. So Part L is getting a bit more stringent. So that's one to check. But yeah, minimum standards.
Yeah, just carry on as usual, the normal stuff, but nothing major at all. Hope that's answered your question. But if they wanted to check some updates, where would they go? They can easily contact yourself, or there's websites.
Yeah, contact your HMO offices. Planning portal is always good. Because building regs have that side. It's a bit data heavy, but yeah, it will be a good one. But maybe we can do a session where I'll update you guys with a bit.
That would be great, because if there were major changes, then you can tell us about it, and you can do that for us. That would be amazing. Okay, Tom, you want to know if there's a recording of this webinar? Yes, there's a recording, and it will be on our YouTube channel in a couple of days. We will send out the details to every single person. Anonymous, does the 35 square meter communal area include the staircase?
Nope, it does not. It's the room itself. It's your kitchen, your living room, your communal living room, and your dining area. So no circulation space.
Brilliant.
Separate.
Let's have a look. I have one question on the one, if the room sizes. What happens when one of the room is less than 6 meters on the 6-bedroom house? That's from Niku.
Less than 6. It's difficult. I think it's a conversation that you have to have with the actual officer when one room fails. As long as the other rooms are compliant, it might just see, and it's impossible to do any improvements on that room. I think when you've got a situation like that, try and allocate space for somewhere else. So get a wardrobe in the bedroom, then at least have a wardrobe space off the hallway, or allow them to have some storage space somewhere else in the property. I think that you can mitigate against by trying to say, okay, this room is small, but they have additional storage here, or here. And I think that is also acceptable, where you can't make the room bigger to meet standards.
Okay, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here as well. But we've got time for another question or so. We've got someone else actually. Niku, you want to be on the panel? I want to ask you if you would like to join us. We've still got time for another couple of questions, right?
Yep.
Brilliant, awesome. In fact, I've got a question that I want to ask, because you've done some amazing work in the past as well, haven't you? You worked with the Battersea Power Station and in London and in Southwark and all those kinds of places. So tell us a little bit about, I know it's right at the end of the presentation, but we've got a lot more people now. Just tell us a little bit about some of the work that you have done recently and then in recent years as well.
Yeah, so predominantly my architectural history is has been around resi or mixed-use development. Prior to setting up, working on Chelsea Barracks, which was a big development for several years. That was my baby. So when you see the big terrace houses that are now going up, that was my project. So we think of you every
time we go past there, then, shall we? I mean, but that's a big project. That's huge.
It's a huge project. I don't know if anyone's walked back down South Bank and seen where the Shell building is, just behind the London Eye. That is another thing that I designed, all the balconies on there. So there are, I came from doing large housing projects, but I do prefer kind of working with smaller developers to kind of spread what I know and what I've learned on working on bigger projects, and filtering that down really and raising the standard. I think sometimes see the money, but we also have to think about the brand. You are a brand. Your work is a brand. Your properties are brands of you, and we want to raise that standard. We want to show the best that we can, and that's what I'm here to do. Really, work with you guys to do that.
I like that. Yeah. I like the way you make everyone a brand. going back to space again, you want to make sure that the quality reflects the brand, which is you really, because it is a business end of the day, isn't it? It's a great brand to have. Brilliant.
It is. And you know, yeah.
If you don't mind having a link for the questions on here, while I'm going to quickly have a look on social media and on messages to see if any more questions have come up as well. So I'll leave that for you for a moment. But if there is any other questions, please raise your hand. We'll invite you to the panel, or you can just ask them here as well. So let me have a quick look. Sam, have you got any more questions on social media?
Yes.
There you
Got
go.
one here on shops. Can you build flats above every shop?
Can you build above every shop?
Yeah, all the shops, yes. I think they're probably alluding to the kind of planning or PD rights you have with shops and uppers. I think, yeah. They're trying to find out what kind of shops.
Shops and uppers.
I think you mentioned you just done flats above a restaurant. So they're asking, can you just do flats above every shop?
Yeah, that was a restaurant. Yeah. Yeah, not every shop is right for it. I mean, it's something that you have to look at with the class kind of thing, and the streetscape, and but generally, class A, you know, you can you know, do the uppers, and yeah, it's.
Okay. And I was gonna say, and that's the beauty of the high street is unlike a residential house where a granny, everyone knows what you can do. Everyone knows that you can do a PD, you can extend sideways, you can do the loft. With shops and uppers, it's very different, very specific. It depends on what kind of shop it is. Is it an office or what is the current use? You get different PD rights depending on current use. You can get M, you got G. So there are quite a few PD rights, which I think will go more into when we actually do the special high street presentation that we're going to do, because it looks like it's quite popular. Quite a few people are looking at jumping on the opportunity that would come from what will be left on the high street when the COVID goes away, if it really does ever go. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of interest on the high street for us to definitely put on. Then one said, can I get a consultation for my project before knowing if it's viable to go ahead or not? Yes, I think it's probably about we're looking at doing a consultation of feasibility study. Yeah, so okay, I think everyone's asking for your cost. How much is it to do this and that? I think it would be best we can send an email to everyone that's on the Zoom, and everyone that's on Facebook as well. We'll send an email of your contact details and your cost structure if they need to look at that. So I think, Ati?
Hello.
There are quite a few questions still coming through, but
there are actually.
Yes, I think if it's so already 1:30, I believe you got a meeting after 1:30, so probably gonna. Actually, I'll let you round up. And,
thank you very much. You know what? It's the questions coming through as well. They're really sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Hardcore questions as well. There's a lot of depth into it as well. So it's something that we can't really answer in a couple of minutes. And I'm absolutely loving the questions coming through. They're not just general. Bobby, yes, the session is recorded. It will be up for viewing in a few days' time on our YouTube channel. So I will be sharing that as well. Right, gosh, do you have time for a final question, or should we wrap up?
I've got 5 minutes. I've got 5 minutes, and then I've got to jump into another Zoom with a client.
All right, fine. Before we go, I want to thank every single person that's taken the time to be here. I know a lot of people had some technical difficulties, and they joined us in the last sort of 15 minutes. We will be sharing our content on YouTube as well, and you will also get access to Angelene's contact details too, but we will be doing a clinic as well. I'm going to get a real quick question is about, there's only so many about costings actually. I'm going to skim through them. What are the cost benefits really quickly of converting houses into studio flats versus HMOs? I'll give you about 30 seconds on that. Go for it.
Oh, cost benefits. It's kind of changed because of COVID.
Yeah, has
I
it made?
think
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it's kind of but generally studios do limit you, I think. You know, it's I think HMOs are a greater benefit, particularly in today's society. You know, if you can fit in all the things that, you know, with an ensuite and things like that, it's almost a studio environment. I think HMOs make more financial sense than having studios. Studios kind of limit your market. If you're a person that likes to interact with people but kind of wants their own space, you don't have that in a studio. So I think you're limiting your tenant appeal with the studio.
Yeah, I hope that's answered it. But if you want to
And I
take,
think from a business perspective as well, Angelene, when you have studios, it just means the tenants pay their own bills, and you as a landlord, you don't have to pay the bills. So that could be quite attractive. And of course, there's less social issues which you have to deal with, unlike with HMOs. However, I follow up from a planning point of view. If you are planning, Ati, there's a look back from you. Ati, do you wanna meet yourself? Okay, I think you've done that. Yes. Yeah, I think Ati, it's quite far from me, but sometimes there's a look back that comes through in terms of the sound. From a planning perspective, if you do a six-room HMO, you don't require any planning, so you can just plug it and play with it. But if you went for 6 HMOs, you probably require planning. What will be the requirements that the council will look at for you to grant that planning? Would there be that parking requirements and things like that?
There's a few things. Splitting of services for studios. There's extra building regs with studios as well. So there's a bit more legwork that's needed with that than HMOs. So the process is a bit longer. There's a bit more criteria than HMOs. A bit more paperwork.
Okay. So you could potentially get your planning permission turned down for 6 HMOs, for 6 studios.
Six
whereas,
studios, yeah.
For
Generally, they don't like you splitting a house into studios. They don't mind one studio or in a development. So say you've got, I don't know, 6-bedroom house and you want to divide that into units. They want family size units. Most councils want family size. They don't like studios. So they would prefer having, you know, an HMO over that can accommodate single people rather than a house that's split into studios. That's not, they'd rather a house, we did it in Finsbury Park, which was 2 flats, two bedroom flats and a studio. And that's a far better accommodation schedule than just studios throughout.
Okay, so that's good. So yeah, so thank you for your time. So what we need to do is probably just discuss and see what other days you can come in for the shops and up the high street shops and uppers, and where you can do a bit more consultation, where we can do almost like the kind of question we had earlier, where people can have more time to actually say what their request is. And then with those kind of consultation events, we might get people to pre-book so that we can actually allocate slots up front. So I think as we've been talking and especially chatting on Facebook, I think we probably need to do a couple of days where people pre-book so we know who needs about 5 or 10 minutes of your time, which is good. So unless Ati has anything else to say, I would just Ati, do you have anything, or should I just
No, I'm all good, but I just want to thank you once again for the presentation and the remarks coming back. Everyone's found it such a valuable presentation as well. So thank you so much for addressing all the questions.
Okay, so Angelene, you've got a meeting to go to, so you can go, and then I'll just you can switch your camera off and then just go, and then I can just talk to the audience.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. To audience, okay, thank you all for coming. I think at the beginning we didn't get a chance to present much about ourselves, Midas Property Group. While I've got you here, I'll do a 90-second pitch of what we do. Midas, we do fantastic events like the one we just had right now. We do auction events. We do a variety of events. But most of our events are actually free events. We use them as a business development tool. How do we then make money? At Midas, the way we make money is by acquiring properties on the behalf of our clients. We acquire properties for clients off auctions, through estate agents, through our private network, where we email our database making requests. So if any of you is actually here on the system looking to invest, and you have a requirement, maybe to buy property convert to HMO, or you're looking to buy land with or without planning, we can help you do the acquisitions. We tend to charge a fee for doing that. We have to be returned by yourself. We charge a fee of about 2% of the value of the acquisition, or a minimum of £5,000, which we tend to drive the value back to you as our client. So if you are looking at considering investing, please talk to us. It will cost you nothing, because unless we get you a deal that's viable, you're not charged. So it just be one more source of you looking for deals. And then while you're here as well, if you are thinking of selling, if you do have a property on the market, please do well to call us straight away after this event. We might just have someone that is looking to buy and can buy a property quite quickly. Being very auction oriented, we have methods that we work between our buyers and sellers to make sure that the sell progression is a lot quicker than going to estate agents. We are living in unusual times, as you say. We've got the tax holidays now, which will end quite soon. The view is, if you walk up to the estate agents now and you make an offer, there's a high chance that you might not take advantage of the tax holiday because of the nature of transactions that go through estate agents. But we at Midas, we have a hybrid method. We call it the hybrid method, which is a mix of private treaty and auctions, which we can see make sure transactions go through a lot quicker. So if you have a property you're selling, actually, while I've got you on here, can anyone just indicate by putting their hands up, if you want to, of course, if anyone is on the market selling a property right now? Is there anyone selling right now? Okay, I think no one's put up their hands. You probably don't want everyone to know you're going to get into so much money very soon. You start having people asking you for loans, and all sort of charities will start knocking your door when they know you're selling. You're going to be in so much money. Is anyone here buying right now? Is anyone here about to buy a property right now? Is anyone looking at buying? Okay. Yes. Okay. Go. Kenneth, I'll let you come on, Kenneth. Just tell us what kind of deal you're looking for. Just in the 90 seconds or 60 seconds, if you just say what you're looking for. I'll promote you to have a quick chat of what you're looking for. Yeah, Kenneth. Hello. Yeah, Kenneth, you can unmute yourself. Just say what kind of property are you looking for?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Brilliant presentation, fantastic presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a property investor. I've been investing for about 25 years. I'm looking for particularly ground floor with uppers so I can convert. I've done this type of conversion before. I've had property for the last 25 years, and that's one of the businesses that I do. So I'm looking for particularly, those type of properties up to 2 million.
Okay, great. Up to 2 million. How do you buy, cash or?
Yeah, cash and then refinance.
Refinance. Okay, great. So yeah, we have a lot of people like Kenneth on our database. And Kenneth is here. He's definitely on our database. So we'll be looking to. I'll have a chat with you, Kenneth. After this, we might have a few that we've been instructed on, or that we know where we can get properties for you.
Brilliant.
Okay. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Then I think we've got one more hands up. let me see who was that. I think we've got, okay, I think they've put their hand down. Okay, so what we do, we'll have a quick chat. There's a few people that put their hands up that if they're actually selling or they're looking at buying rather. Yeah, so please, I'll have a chat with yourself. Anyone that's looking to buy, at buying a property right now, and we can actually help you acquire properties. I think without much further ado, thank you once more for coming in, for sparing the time to be on this platform today. We will send you a link to a few properties that we are actually marketing right now, very high yielding, and some projects. Okay, thank you and goodbye, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.